back to Giants Latest. Hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all things New York Giants. We are in the middle of our positional breakdown debrief. So, what we're doing is we're going through every position on the roster. We are talking through the veterans, free agents, rookies, UDFAs, everyone that's on the roster in that position, and doing a depth chart of sorts, talking through who's probably going to be the starters and who could end up being practice squad or cut candidates. So, let's get right into it and let's talk through the corners. I actually think that this is probably one of the positions where we feel pretty good, you guys tell me, about the starters and that they are definitely set. It would be shocking to me if anyone beats out any of these three. So, let's go through all of the guys first. For the left corner, we have Paulson Adebo, Corey Black, and Nick Jones. For the right corner, we have Deontay Banks, Trey Hawkins III, Art Green, and O'Donnell Fortune. And then for the nickel, we have Drew Phillips, Cordell Flott, and D. Williams. I think it's pretty set in stone, right? On the outsides, you have Tay Banks and you have Paulson Adebo. And then as the nickel or the slot guy, you have Drew Phillips. I feel pretty good about that start. To me, the biggest question mark is Tay Banks because it looks like Adebo is good. He's healthy. No issues, it seems like, with the foot. So assuming there's no flare-ups or anything like that, I'm not worried about Adebo. I'm more worried about Banks because obviously he had an amazing rookie year. Then he fell off last year. And this year I'm hoping he can get back to the Banks that we all knew and loved that, Banks were closed on Sunday, his rookie year. And it was so fun. It was so nice to feel like, oh my God, we have a secondary that we can believe in, And we haven't had that. So I'm hoping that this year, having a veteran corner on the outside is going to help him. Drew Phillips being in his second year. Phillips was really good last year before he got injured. He made some really nice tackles. He had some great tackles for loss. I expect to see him continue on that path and maybe even get a little bit better this year. So I feel good about him. And Adebo, I think the biggest thing, that we have to worry about with him is he's learning a new defense, but he's a veteran, not his first time through this. So I think he's going to be just fine, and I'm not really worried about it. So I don't know. I feel good about that. Let's talk through some of the backups. We've got Corey Black, Nick Jones, O'Donnell Fortune, Art Green, and Trey Hawkins III. Now, Trey Hawkins III has experience with this defense. He's been on the team for a couple years. He was a 6th or 7th round pick. Corey Black is a 7th round pick for the Giants. So I think those two guys are going to be battling it out for backups for the left and right side. I think when you look at all of the corners that they have right now, it probably makes the most sense that those guys are going to be the backups. Will they only keep one? I think they'll probably end up keeping 2 and 1 slot guy on the roster. I don't remember how many they kept last year. So, I think keeping 5 or 6 corners on the roster is a necessity, especially knowing how these guys get injured. And it's really a position that the Giants need to do well at, especially in the division. Like when you look at the wide receivers they're going against, they have to be able to make plays against them. Tay Banks, I'm looking at you. So I really hope that they can take a step forward this year. And, having the front four that they have, having Abdul Carter and Chauncey Golston, and of course, Dexter Lawrence and Burns and Kayvon, like all of those things I think are really going to help out the corners like they did a little bit last year. But I do think that Banks learned his lesson about the slacking off. I wish that the coaches were harder on him. I think that one thing that I really want to see this coaching staff improve upon this year is there's consequences for your actions, okay? That's how life works. Unless you're a certain someone. But, you have to be able to, it's unacceptable for you in a division game, not one division game, 2 division games. First against the Cowboys, where he gave up on that touchdown to CeeDee Lamb, where the Giants were still kind of in the game at that point. And then the second one against the Eagles, where he decided he didn't want to tackle Jalen Hurts. Unacceptable behavior. So I hope he learned from it. They made some firings, they brought in new coaches, and I hope that that is also going to help him. But he's the biggest concern that I have. But overall, I think that they're in decent shape at the corner position. I do really like O'Donnell Fortune. He's from South Carolina. He was a guy that they brought in this spring. He has some things to work on. Obviously, he went undrafted. But I think that he could be a practice squad candidate and eventually maybe work his way up to the roster. I don't know about this year, but maybe next year. And I like the fact that he definitely has some potential. So I feel pretty good about the corners. You guys let me know what you think. Let's move over to the safeties because, obviously losing Xavier McKinney was a big deal, but I think the Giants did a good job of bringing in a veteran this year in Javon Holland. I think they really kind of learned from their mistake, and we're going to try and fix it. So let's start with the strong safety. We have Tyler Nubin, Dane Belton, Raheem Lane. And then for the free safety, we have Javon Holland, Anthony Johnson Jr., and Makari Page. Now, Makari Page is from Michigan. He did pretty well with them, has learned a lot of defenses, has good experience, is smart, all the things. So I actually think that he has potential to make this roster. I think at the very least, he's a practice squad guy. To me, there's no question. Nubin and Holland are the starters, and I think that we all probably feel pretty good about that too. I know that I do. Obviously, having a veteran back there in the safety room is really important. I think that Javon Holland is a great fit for this defense. I think he's going to help mentor a young guy like Tyler Nubin. What I really want to see from Nubin this year, he did a nice job last year, of course, before he got injured too, but one of the reasons why they drafted him is because he's always around the ball and he's a ball hawk. And the Giants said the exact same thing about Dane Belton. And Dane Belton actually does have a couple interceptions for the Giants under his belt. I really want to see that from Nubin this year. And I hope that he can take that step forward. And I hope that having someone like Javon Holland on the roster is going to help him out with that. Dane Belton is the guy that I really like. I think it could be between him and Makari Page as the two backups. Anthony Johnson Jr., I don't like between him and Raheem Lane. Raheem Lane has been on the Giants before. We've seen him before. He hasn't really done much. I don't really know whether or not he's going to be someone that has potential to really make this roster. I would especially say not over someone like Dane Belton. And, I think Makari Page is going to bring some good competition. So I feel good about the safeties. Obviously, the backups always bring some question marks, but I think that if it's between those guys, I think it's definitely going to be Belton. I don't think there's any question about that. And I think that Makari Page could really be a guy that steps up this summer. So he's definitely someone to watch. All right, lastly here, let's go ahead and talk about the linebackers because the Giants brought in some linebackers in free agency, although they mostly have special teams experience. But let's talk through them because they didn't really make any changes to the starters, which I don't really feel like they had to, but we've got the inside linebacker as Bobby Okereke, the left inside linebacker, the right inside linebacker. We have Micah McFadden. And then I'm not really going to talk through the outside linebackers because we already talked through them as the edge rushers. So let's just focus on the inside linebackers with Bobby O and Micah McFadden. I love Bobby O. He's a guy that I was super excited about when the Giants signed him. He had a great first year, and then last year, obviously, the defense as a whole had some issues, clearly. So I expect to see him take a step forward this year and kind of get back to that Bobby O that we all knew and loved in, was it 2023? So maybe it was 2022. Nope, I think it was 2023. Anyway, I'm really excited about him. When he was on the field, he was a really good sideline to sideline backer. He's able to make good tackles. He had a couple tackles for loss. I think he even had a couple sacks at one point. So he's got great versatility. The Giants need to take advantage of that. Shane Bowen has to figure out what to do with him this year. And, he's really good. He's one of the better players on this team against the run. So I want to see him really used in that capability. And also, we have to be able to stop the run this year. So, or else Shane Bowen is getting fired, which might not be the worst thing, but it would be the worst thing if we suck against the run again. So I want to see more of Bobby O in that role. Micah McFadden is in the last year of his contract, so I do expect the Giants to... I don't really know if they're going to re-sign him. I think that they will go out and get a free agent next year, maybe if they think they could get someone cheaper. I would like someone who's a little bit better than Micah, especially next to Bobby O, so I hope that he has a good year this year, though. I always like Micah, and I think he's done a nice job here. And he's one of those players who has done a really good job of improving, where, from year 1, year 2, year 3, his missed tackles have gone down. He's gotten better in space. His tackling has obviously improved. So I like Micah, and I want to see that continue with him. The backups, we have Darius Muasau, who was a 6th-round pick for the Giants last year. Deontay Johnson, who actually was a guy who looked really good during camp last year, and then he got injured and was basically out for the whole season. I think he came back week 18. Demetrius Flanagan-Foles is a guy that they picked up in free agency. Same thing with Chris Board. And then Ty Summers is a guy that was on the team last year that was kind of like a practice squad, ended up playing towards the end of the season. I would say he has a little bit of promise, but I think that the guys who end up making the roster is going to be Darius Muasau, Deontay Johnson, and I think it'll be between Chris Board and Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. I think Chris Board has the edge on him because he has better and more special teams play. And I think that's ultimately going to come into effect here when we're talking about a potential fifth linebacker on the roster. So I think Chris Board makes it over Flanagan, Foles, and Ty Summers, I think, is going to be a practice squad again. Do I think it could be between him and Deontay Johnson to make the roster? Yes, but I think ultimately Deontay Johnson showed some really good promise last year. And I think if he did that last year and he's fully healthy this year, I think he can do it again. So I would like to see that from him. He was a guy that was really fun to watch in camp, and it was so disappointing when he got injured. So I really hope that he can stay healthy. And that's kind of what I'm thinking for the breakdown for the linebackers. Let me know in the comments whether or not you agree or disagree with me. And we've got a couple more days left of position debriefs, and then we will move on to some other Giants topics. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you guys want to see, especially during this period where it's kind of quiet until training camp starts. So let me know and stay tuned for more.